your turn to play bad cop?
Nah. Good cop and bad cop left for the day. I'm a different kind of cop.
I don't want to do your dirty work no more. We're back. Episode 3. Some of the most unlikable people in television are here to talk about. You know, we're here. We picked a real group of. I think they could all do therapy together, and they could all just like end up killing each other, which is interesting. But we're here to talk Mad Men, The Sopranos, Field. Very early 2000s, two of these shows are. I will just say, like, they're really, you can just really feel the age on two of these. But yeah, Mark, how are you? Does Pete get better this episode? And these episodes, and yeah, how are you?
I mean, it'll be a while. It'll be a while. We're gonna get there. I think we'll get there at some point. Yeah, you know, we'll say we could have started, you know, like bad guy of the week, you know, last season. I think it's actually fitting we just started it this season. It's like I don't think there's like any good guys here. Like, you know, just
It was hard to do bad guy of the week when there were literally convicted felons like that were literally there, and then everybody trying to be felons, like trying to get caught up by the cops. It would either be Walt or just everybody in jail. Yeah. Matt, how are you? How was your TV viewing this week?
It actually worked out. My household was going through a sort of a virus this week, so I had plenty of time to watch shows. So I may take a couple breaks here for some coughing fits, but I think I'm pretty much past it for the most part. But you know, it's nothing like pulling up a blanket and watching some comfort shows to help you feel better. So
yeah. I just want to say this. I did this real disservice to myself for years of not watching The Sopranos. Again, this could fall off a massive cliff at some point, but the fact that I did never watch season 1 is really just a remarkable transition in my life. So I'm happy that we're doing the show. We had intense conversations last week after our episode 2 to discuss season 3. Yeah, it's in the work. We've been renewed. We're still going. So thank you, Video Store, for keeping our renewal for our, I think we're hitting our 1 viewer minimum. So like, I think we get to keep it going. I think that might be me and Mark just clicking on the videos to keep them up. But same thing we did every week. We're going to go through these shows. First up, Matt, he's going to lead us through The Shield. Mark's going to take us through 1950s ad salesman. And then I'm going to talk about some wise guys. Yeah. And some awkward situations. I just want to warning. My show gets weird. My show gets weird. There are literally 2 subject matters in one of these episodes, and both are uncomfortable to talk about out loud. So get ready for that.
My show's got a guy getting eaten by a coyote, so we'll talk about weird.
That's valid. That's valid. You do have that. So take it away, Matt.
All right, so we're going to start off with the episode number 7, Pay and Pain. And this episode starts us off at a shooting range where one of the shooters decides to get some live practice and ends up shooting all the other people in the shooting range, killing 8 people there, including a pregnant woman. Gilroy shows up and he makes the strike team partner up with an officer named Carlos, who is a former gang member who has a close ties to one of the gangs that was affected in the shooting here. They are put on to the trail of someone named Wet Willie, who Vic is able to find pretty quickly. But Wet Willie has an alibi because his baby has been sick and throwing up all night. So he's in the clear. And meanwhile, Shane is just like found some random guy to piss him off. And he starts beating him and ends up pissing on him in the middle of the street there. So Vic gives him a nice yelling at and slaps him around a little bit in the car. Tells him he needs to kind of straighten up a little bit. Meanwhile, Aceveda is helping Julian practice for his IAD questioning about the cocaine. Then we also have Aceveda later on coaches the women, the witness, who stole the police car with the drugs for the IAD questioning. We have Dutch is still obsessed with the serial killer, so Claudette makes him pick an easy case so they can kind of solve it quickly, get his confidence back up. They end up doing a case involving a psychic medium who is scanning some elderly people out of all their money. One in particular, the son brings in his mother, thinks she's talking to her deceased husband.
That's how the beekeeper started. I don't want to interrupt you, but I forgot to mention. When Shane was pissing on that guy, does he realize his partner has already killed a cop at one point? Like, he's running the red light. I love how Shane's like sitting in the car with him. He's like, "Hey man, he needs to calm and needs to relax. You need to relax. You've been fucking up far too much. We're 7
Did I piss on you?"
Shane had some stupid moments. I was shocked when I saw that man just pissing on top of him. And also, I love the Shield because this is wild for an FX show in my eyes that they don't spare any expense for anybody. Like, you think, oh, pregnant woman, yeah, that one, no, dead. Like, young children, sex crowd. Like, they just lean and just say, fuck it. We're going to make the most wild crime ever. So, interesting. Sorry to cut you off.
Oh, no, you're good. Yeah. Yeah, I would still just love to see like a prequel series to see how Shane and Vic got started and how I can't see how Vic has kept it around this long, but to continue.
Yeah.
The elderly women refuse to press charges, so they are pretty much able to question the psychic medium, but they can't really do anything. So Claudette pretty much just tells her she needs to go and find some new marks elsewhere before they start doing some digging and seeing if there is something they can charge her for. But the lady was kind of trying to get into Dutch's head, saying that she was kind of getting a message from beyond by somebody who starts with an S, and she happened to guess Sally, which is the girl from the previous episode. So Dutch does end up paying her a visit and kind of asking what the message was, and Sally says that he can't give up on her. He's the only one that's still trying, and so yeah, so that's kind of their storyline for this episode. Meanwhile, Carlos has another lead, which he makes Vic follow him. They go to a witness who tells him the shooter is white. Then we go over to Tomas and Julian. Tomas is trying to kind of help put Julian's mind at ease, the stress of everything going on, but he's also still kind of pressuring Julian about coming out, so it's not really helping him a whole lot. We find out that the shooter has killed 5 more people at a little convenience store, butcher shop thing there, before he was chased off by the owner with a baseball bat. They canvass the vehicles in the area. Shane finds a car with some ammo in the back seat. They trace the owner, who has an apartment nearby. They find his in-laws have been murdered, but his wife and son are missing. Vic decides to go back and question the shop owner again because he thinks there might be a little bit more going on there, and that the guy might have been trying to actually get his own revenge for his son's death. Carlos isn't a fan of Vic's interrogation tactics, but they did work because the shop owner did say that he and his friends were kind of trying to do that, but he couldn't do it. So he ended up giving the shooter over to the gang. So now the gang has the shooter as well as his wife and son. Vic and Carlos turn up just in time to save the wife and kid, but one of the gang members is able to kill the shooter. Vic is able to talk Carlos out of killing the gang member. Gilroy is brought in by Aceveda to tell them about the strike team cocaine case, and he asks Aceveda to kind of give him a few days to figure out how to handle it. Gilroy immediately goes over to Vic and tells him they're going to have to put all the blame on Shane. That's going to be the only way he can save him.
That's about right.
Vic, I missed earlier on the episode when Vic and Shane are going around. Shane finds a book on autism that Vic is reading, and Vic tells him that a kid in his son's class has been diagnosed. Shane isn't really too up on the political correct
No,
terms for autism and all that stuff. But then later on, towards the end, Vic tells Shane that it is his son that has the autism, and that he tells Shane that he's not going to give up on either of them. And then at the end of this
Good
episode,
job, Vic.
we have a nice moment with Tomas and Julian. They're kind of comforting each other, and it gets a little intimate. And just at that moment, Vic busts in the door, kicks it right in. He has an arrest warrant for.
My jaw was on the ground, and I don't know why. I didn't see it coming. I just saw it, didn't I? I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah, I was amazed it happened this quick, but yeah.
I was like, this is early 2000s. They're gay. This is not going to go over well in this group.
But yeah, so he handcuffs Tomas and pulls him up and says, "Don't worry, I'm sure your officer friend here can lock up for you." And that's the end of this episode.
Fire into the episode. So, like, Mark, calm down. Like, use your coping skills when I'm about to say this. It's coming one of those frustrations for me in this show, but it's not. It's just not my speed as like the police procedural like side of like trying to solve like the makes the crimes all the time,
Mhm.
and they normally get resolved really fast. So that's just always been my gripe on all the shows. It doesn't make it a bad show. It's just like there's no like mystery, if that makes sense. But I mean, the one thing that's keeping me safe and that like into it is because the side story is the main story is so strong with all the characters. But I'm just like every time like the gun like it was like the shooting was happening at the thing. I'm like, oh, I wonder where this is gonna go. Like, there's no real mystery entry. But overall, I think like the side story and like, I don't understand how who's the officer that's gonna turn on Vic? What's his name?
Julian.
Like how it will explain more, but how he just has such a moral compass. And it's like, no, like this guy, you gotta stand up. No, I'm telling you, you don't want to do this. No, I'm going to. Like, dude, you have like, no pun intended, in your closet. Like, you don't want to open this door. Like, when you have that stuff, and of course, he burst right through the door to like take again. Also, if you're going to choose somebody to like be with, maybe don't pick a criminal like out of it that can easily be arrested. But overall, like I thought this episode was really strong in the main story. Because yeah, like when Shane's like doing the interrogation and stuff, like I just love how the Strike Force team just like interacts with like the normal cops. So like, what the fuck? Like, police were done. Fuck off. Like we do it our own way, and everybody's like, yeah, you're fine. Like
Results are results.
Results are yeah. But no, it was a great episode. Especially I don't know why I was shocked, but I was like, no, but of course, who was gonna walk through that fucking door? Why are we watching this scene? Oh yeah, here comes Vic. And what a great line. I'm pretty sure Cop Friend can help you lock up as he smirks at him and he's taking away. I'm just like, fuck.
Yeah, no, it was a good episode. I really liked watching just Vic interact with the guy who's just trying to work closely with the gangs and how it just kind of slowly just goes downhill, and we see him kind of change a bit. Like it was a fun story to watch. I think a thing that this kind of reminds me of like show I think we're never gonna watch just because Cody is not like well, just because I remember bringing it up, you shot it down, and like it is a procedural angle of like person of interest. Like I think that's it's a great show, even though like we go like episode by episode, we follow like a different person like every time. They always found a way just to kind of make these one episodes just interesting, and I'm kind of just noticing that in the Shield. Like Shield has like really neat one-off stories, and they kind of managed to kind of keep up in the ante as we go along. I really like that. But I mean, did really like the ending of this. The ending's great.
Oh, yeah.
I fucking hate Julian. I think Julian is like by far like the worst character like that we're following right now.
Who's Julian?
The cop who witnessed the cocaine and is trying.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, idiot.
confess,
He's
yeah.
the dumbest. He's by far the dumbest character in the history of the universe.
He's a very religious gentleman, and I think that's what weighs really down on him a lot. I don't know.
I just don't care about his character. Like everything about him is like, oh, this is 2000s character development. Like I don't care at all. I really hope he dies by the end of the season. I just don't really want to watch him anymore.
Well, it's the interesting thing, right? So like we have 3 shows that are yours is different, I would say. Mad Men's different because there's unlikable characters, but overall there's not like that one. Well,
I don't know. I'd stack Pete up against most of these
well,
guys.
right. So here's my thing: like Don Draper is not like he does stupid things and he's bad. Like Antonio Soprano does bad things, but we enjoy his ride. Vic is that character that in this show is an absolute scumbag, but you're not rooting, like you're not hoping he gets caught at this point because he's the one, he's the straw that stirs the drink. So at this point, like Julian is the one like thorn in his side, him and who's
Acevedo.
the Aceveda, that are just being like, we're all like, yeah, you have points, but leave Vic the fuck alone right now.
Like if it was real life, we'd be rooting for you guys, yeah, because we would want Vic knocking our door down. But
it's Walter White, yeah, he's selling drugs and he's putting everybody in danger. But I want Walt to win. Like I don't know what we want in there. Like this is what I'm wanting. So it's the same viewpoint. It's like Vic is like Julian's like, yeah, this is right. You're dude. If we were in real life, I'm 100% on your side. But I need Vic to keep doing scumbag things for me to be on this show. So
be like
you gotta go.
Finale, or the series.
You
finale.
gotta go. But also, like Aceveda was even like, you do not like. I want Vic more than anybody, and I'm telling you, you don't want to go down this path.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm gonna go down this path. Girl cop. You don't want to go down this path. It's not going to end well. No, I want to go down this path. And not to spoil an episode, fucking 2. The next episode in this thing is like...
Yeah. Aceveda knows without the cocaine, then it's an uphill battle. So it's
fucking crazy. And then how quickly he rolls over and shows his belly is crazy. But I'll let you continue before I say anything more.
So that brings us to episode 8, Cupid and Psycho, which drops us right in the middle of a high-speed chase, which ends with the suspect crashing the vehicle and dying on impact. Danny and Julian open up the trunk to see a body that was burned alive. But then all of a sudden the eyes open up. Credit. We see that
Is it Vic that says something, or somebody's like, you gotta be a real scumbag to do that to somebody? Like, something, not just like, Vic, of course you'd say that.
Well, I mean, Vic hasn't burned anyone alive yet. So.
That we've seen.
We find out that the cocaine investigation has been leaked to the newspaper, which, of course, we know Aceveda leaked it. Gilroy tells him to temporarily break up the strike team and team them up with other officers. So Vic gets teamed with Claudette and Shane gets teamed with Dutch. Vic threatens Julian. Julian denies being with Tomas. Vic tells Tomas to stay away from Julian.
Greatest line ever from Vic. I don't have to prove anything. All I have to do is say it.
And that's right.
Like, damn. He just literally looks at him and goes, you have no proof. I don't need proof. All I need to do is speak. Like, gosh.
So a doctor says that it looks like the victim got blown up in a meth lab, and it's only a matter of time before he dies. Claudette and Vic agree to take turns leading the investigation. They discover that the current batch of Cupid meth is causing overdoses, and they need to get it off the streets. A college student, Paul, brings in an overdose victim to the hospital. Vic questions him, and he gives up the name Effie Montecito, a meth dealer who sells to fraternities. Effie and Paul, they find Effie. Effie and Paul lead Vic and Claudette to a man named Manny, who funded their meth cook, and they want to send in Effie and Paul to see Manny wearing a wire. However, the string does not go as they wanted, and then they end up having to work with Manny and cut a deal for him to help get the deadly drugs off the street. So they do cut the deal, and Manny suddenly knows where the drugs are. He tells them to get the drugs. But Vic does warn Manny as he's getting let go that even though he's free, he's now on Vic's radar, and that's not where you want to be. Danny tells Julian that he needs to open up to her or ask for a new partner. They are struggling with a woman named Fran, who is still going back and forth between the two men, Hooper and Lamar, from an earlier episode. And they don't take it well when it's not their turn with her. Danny tells Fran that it's not fair to the two men and that she needs to pick one. And we find out later and towards the end of the episode that she does pick one, but it doesn't matter because Hooper ends up killing Fran and Lamar.
Sad.
Yeah, sad that we won't get to see those guys again. Vic threatens Julian with reporting what he saw in the bust, effectively outing Julian to the whole police force. It is enough to get Julian to change his story to Aceveda. He now says he's not sure it was drugs that he saw, and Aceveda tells him that he could be facing suspension or even termination for changing his story like this. Vic and Corrine take a tour of a school for autistic children, learning that it only has one spot left open, but the tuition is very expensive. They end up going for it, with Vic saying he's going to need to put in some extra shifts. Vic has a talk with his daughter about Matthew's condition, and she says she's going to give Big Sister help. A woman comes to Dutch and Shane asking for a follow-up on the death of her husband, which was being investigated a year ago by a recently retired detective. Shane tells Dutch that he wants to help her so that he can sleep with her. Later, Shane also tries to plant the seeds for sleeping with a witness. They do some detective work, and after confirming that his alibi for the family does not match at all, Dutch is able to find one of Kyle's business partners he thinks is the person that did it. So he tries to coax a confession out of him, but Shane just violently and easily is able to get the confession out of him by threatening to hit him. So yeah, he confesses to killing Kyle after being caught stealing from their company. But Dutch takes a page out of Shane's book and makes dinner for the widow and ends up sleeping with her. We have yeah, good on Dutch. Aceveda meets with his political friend Machado, who tells him not to worry about the case falling apart because people only care about the headlines. Vic and Julian have another bathroom chat, and Vic tells him that he can't go through life hating himself, and because Julian had his back, Vic now has his back.
Good son.
Good guy, Vic. Good guy. Gilroy tells
Very trustworthy. Wouldn't break his word for anything.
And then the episode ends, Gilroy telling Vic that he doesn't have the strength to keep protecting him anymore. So Gilroy pretty much just tells Vic and the strike team that they're now on their own. And that's kind of a lot going all over the place on that episode.
Yeah. The episode's fine. I love the beginning of this episode. The ending, the later part, I didn't love as much. Like, again, not every episode's going to be an absolute like fire. I just want this on the record. Worst theme song of all 6 shows that we've done. Like, stop screaming at me. Like, it's just like constant. Like, I forget about it. It's always like over a montage of something that's happening, like Herschel, so that works. But it pisses me off because then I have to pay attention while listening to this just scream thing that happens. But overall, didn't love the episode. But again, like 13 episodes, I'm not expecting everyone to be slam dunks. So.
Yeah.
I don't know, Mark. Do you feel the same way, or did you really like this? This is how we normally differ. Where I'm like, yeah, it's not my favorite. Mark's like, really? I really like this one. This is one of my favorite episodes ever.
I mean, I like the Claudette and like Vic stuff. I think that part of the episode is pretty fun. And I'm not gonna lie, the Dutch Shane stuff has its moments just because of like just how dumb it is. Like I mean, it's a weird reminder that Shane was able to work his way up from being like a regular cop to a detective. I don't know how he did that. Like he has no etiquette like in the box.
It's a lie. It's a lie. It has to. There's forged paperwork somewhere down the line. Like he wasn't, and then Aceveda got hired and be like, "Oh, by the way, Shane's a detective." Like there's no fucking way anybody believes that. No way.
They probably killed another cop on the strike team, and then Shane was like a meth dealer. They just gave him the
Shane shouldn't be
badge.
a cop. Like how he even be a cop is it was surprising to everybody. Like these idiots that are like groups of. I'm like, no, like none of these people are cops. It's even more apparent next episode. The Shane should not be a cop.
Yeah. I mean, I think like the main cases in this episode might have been a little bit on the weaker side, but I like Mark said, I did like the kind of the interesting teamings of Vic and Claudette and Shane and Dutch, and it kind of a little bit kind of put the cocaine storyline to rest a little bit.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, still sucks.
Honestly,
Really
I wish it would have went. I wish the cat and mouse went on a little bit longer. Because I think one of the best episodes of the season is when like Aceveda shows up at the blaze in the truck before it. Like there's a little bit more cat and mouse, but overall it's like Vic got out of it clean really quick. Which I would have liked the story to be carried on.
Which I'm sure he will give plenty more opportunities to be caught with his hand in the cookie jar. So
that's true.
So that brings us to episode 9, Throwaway. We start off with a cigarette truck being robbed, which is valuable stuff. So yeah, I can see that. Lem and Ronnie talk to the driver, and they are able to identify the gang based on the description of the tattoos. They track down a suspect named Hector, who runs when they bust through his girlfriend's door. During the foot chase, Lem shoots him when he mistakenly thinks that Hector is pointing a gun, but it was actually a carton of cigarettes. We have there's a nice scene where Vic goes out to his trunk and lifts it up, and he's got all sorts of weapons and all sorts of other stuff just waiting. So he plants a gun on the victim or the suspect there. Then we have Aceveda shows up. They got the guy. They're bringing him to the ambulance.
Vic, you want to tell me what happened? Saved my ass, man. Went through bullshit.
had me dead to rights, but Lems, he saved me. But we find out that it wasn't even Hector. It was the girl's brother, Chaco. So, yeah, I'm sure that'll be fine.
Classic mix-up.
Well, they shoot an unarmed guy to begin with.
So Aceveda tells Julian he's not sure he can trust him anymore. He's docked a week's pay and put on probation, but he's not going to let him change partners. Claudette and Dutch show up to investigate an elderly blind man who is chained up outside and attacked by coyotes. The son pretty much said that the dad was kicked out of a nursing home because he couldn't afford all the payments. And, he can't really afford to give him a whole lot of care. So he kind of just like chains him up to make sure he doesn't like wander away at night and stuff. So, I mean, it's for his own good, really.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, throughout the episode.
There's no better way to deal with it than chain him up outside.
I mean, you don't have the room. What is he gonna do?
I mean, you know how much apartments are out there? No,
you got to figure something else out besides chaining the man. Mark, I'm glad that you're defending chaining the old man outside.
What, like a hotel? You know how much that's gonna cost?
I don't know the scenario, but figure the fuck out. You can't.
And if he wasn't chained up, he would have gone and got hit by a car or something. So I mean,
better than what happened to him.
Okay. But yeah, so throughout the episode, Dutch and Claudette are trying to get a hold of people that can take care of him, his other children, none of whom want anything to do with him. His ex-wife doesn't want anything to do with him either. So he's going to end up being taken away by social services. and the son is arrested for elder abuse. And then this whole storyline, I think, is to kind of just coincide with Claudette's storyline of her father coming to visit the barn, and he wants Claudette to see her daughter and meet the daughter's new boyfriend, whereas she is more wanting the daughter to get back with the husband and stuff. So she's not super on board and not being very supportive. Although Dutch does get a lot of one-on-one time with Claudette's dad, who gives him a lot of juicy information about Claudette's past and stuff, about being a dancer and all sorts of other stuff. But yeah, so pretty much at the end there, Claudette asked the older one who was chained up, kind of, why don't any of your children or anything want to help you? And she's like, well, I was a bastard. So that's kind of a little, gives her oomph, and she kind of makes a little bit more effort to talk to her daughter and stuff. So I think that's kind of those storylines there working together. Back over with the other side, Lem is feeling guilty, especially after he visits Chaco's parole officer, who says he's a pretty good guy now. And we'll find as we watch the show that Lem is kind of he's kind of the conscience of the strike team. He's the one that the stuff kind of will be a little bit heavy on him sometimes. So they visit Chaco, who is upset that they set him up with, and then it's now going to be a third strike against him. So he's probably going to be going to jail forever, pretty much. But he's more worried about Hector and what Hector's going to do to his sister if he thinks that she ratted him out. Vix decides that they're going to break into the evidence locker and take the planted gun, so that way Chaco won't be going to jail. They end up providing protection for the sister until they can get Hector, so Lem is going to go stay with her. Vic tries to be friendly with Julian, who doesn't seem to be super excited about it. Vic tries to give him, I think, basketball tickets and stuff like that. Eventually, Julie just asks Vic to back off. The sister shows Lem that Hector carved an H on her stomach the night before they busted in and shot her brother. Lem immediately goes over to Hector's house, which Vic and Ronnie just happen to be surveilling, and he attacks Hector. Vic and Ronnie are able to kind of break all that up. Lem confesses to the sister that he's the one that shot Chaco. We have Aceveda tells Danny that she failed the sergeant's exam by 3 points, but that she'll pass it next time. We see that Dutch is still seeing Kim, the widow from the last episode. The Vic was not able to get into the evidence room and get the gun. That didn't go out so well, so they decide to, the strike team disguises themselves as Hector and his gang, and they rob the police vehicle that is transporting evidence from the barn to Central Holding to get the planted gun. The strike team then goes and arrests Hector and his crew for robbing the evidence truck, and they plant a gun that was used to shoot the vehicle up and stuff. Aceveda sits Danny and Julian down so they can kind of talk about their issues and kind of get on the same page again. Corrine tells Vic that she is struggling to watch the kids without him and something needs to change. I don't remember if I think this was the episode where she had a nanny come in and help, but she said that the nanny was no help. She ended up having to watch the nanny, watch the kids, so that didn't work out. Lem goes and visits Chaco's sister to tell her that Chaco is all good. They got him. He's going to be released. He then tries to confess to planting the gun, but she said it doesn't matter because he made it right. And then they kind of make out and they sleep together. So that's kind of the end of the episode there.
Better episode than the previous episode. I like this more. It was more. This one reminded me very similar to the basketball one, when it was like it's like kind of just goofy because it's like, oh, having to arrest this person to plant this one to do this one, like it's like all this like, oh, let me run around and try to fix my fucking mistakes that are all over the place before somebody bigger up finds out, which it's now happened twice in this show, 3 times in this show so far in one season. So this may be a theme that is developing. That there, every once in a while, Vic and crew are going to do something that they're going to have to kind of run around to solve all the problems that
The
they
dirty cops
just
have to go clean up their messes.
yeah. But overall, really enjoyed the episode. Overall, I thought the moments. What is Julian and Vic have a moment in this?
Yeah, they had a couple where like Vic was trying to be all like buddy with Julian.
Yeah,
and
he's talking about pushing stuff down, he's trying to get away from the stuff that he said you can't go around life not being your true self. I'm like, motherfucker, you know, buddy, I'm 9 episodes.
Seems like
in,
a good guy to take life advice from.
Vic, you're not honest at one point this time, so fuck off. But yeah, good.
In and around the middle of that big yawn. Yeah, I you gotta appreciate Vic, just in the sense of going around to Julian's like, hey man, you did you did the right thing. I just want to give you these Clippers tickets. Want to make you have my back there. I'm glad you did that. Just really weird about it. I just can't imagine that being the case. Also thrown off a bit. Lem was the one who really fucked up. Usually it's been Shane. All Shane does, just fuck up, and they gotta, figure out how to, get out of his mess. So it's not just him, and then Vic has to, just go and big bro it up the whole time. So yeah.
I mean, I watched it. It looked like that guy had something in his hand. So I don't know. I mean, Prez shot a cop under the same circumstances. So
I mean, DiCaprio made the same mistake in The Departed.
Yeah, anything can happen.
Fair.
I mean, he just knocked out the guy's teeth.
All right. So that brings us to our final episode of The Shield for the night. Episode 10, Dragonchasers, which starts off with the strike team undercover at a strip club. They are trying to capture a group of strippers who are mugging their customers, which, of course, the only way you can do that is by going undercover as gentlemen getting lap dances and stuff. So that works out pretty well. Eventually, Vic gets called away. Vic's prostitute CI Connie calls. Her mother has just died from a stroke. Vic tells her that she needs to get clean so that she can take care of her son, but she's worried that he'll be taken away if she goes to rehab. So Vic offers to take her son away and have one of the guys sit with her as she tries to detox at her place. And then we go back to the undercover stripper ring, which Ronnie tried, but he was not very good at undercover gentleman getting a lap dance. So Shane had to go in there and help him out and take one for the team. And Shane gets lured to the back, and he is attacked by the muggers. So they are able to catch the people that they believe are doing the muggings. Then back at the barn, there's a reporter who's doing a story on Aceveda. So she's interviewing him, and she's got access to the barn to kind of interview everybody. Danny and Julian catch a guy masturbating in an alley. They decide to let him go with a warning. However, Dutch gets a little bit interested when he overhears them talking about it, and he's able to get his name. Danny is attacked and bit by a suspect they are trying to put in the cage. She immediately goes to the hospital to get medication. Dutch tracks down Sean the masturbator and talks with him. Later, he tells Claudette that he thinks that this is the serial killer. He spoke with his aunt, who told Dutch that his parents died in a fire. Dutch and Claudette question Sean, who is able to analyze Dutch pretty well, pretty much gets him down to a T almost. Then we cut back to Vic brings a baby home for Corinne and asks her to watch him for one night. So in the previous episode where Corinne said she's struggling and she needs some sort of change, Vic's idea of change is to bring a baby for her to watch.
Just take care of this other baby for me. This
Just
prostitute that I've been
overwhelmed with
looking
what's
after is
happened.
having a tough time.
You're overwhelmed with what's happening. Let's just add more to it. Sounds great.
Yeah.
These kids are being awful. Hey, honey, I brought home another child.
This one's not ours though, so if it gets anything happens, don't feel too bad.
Here's this kid, but also don't ask me any more questions about what.
Don't ask me where the kid came from or anything about prostitutes or anything like that. I'll be back later. So Vic and Ronnie stay with Connie as she goes through her detox. Shane questions Tulip, the dancer, who he arrested as part of the potentially part of the ring of muggers. The dancer is flirting with him a little bit. Lem and Shane can't seem to agree if it's her or her friend Carl is the ringleader of the muggings. A couple of officers invite Julian and Danny to a blanket party for the guy who attacked her, but she turns it down. But after Julian talks to the perp who said he was trying to give her his HIV, which he got in jail, Julian tells the other officers that he wants in on the blanket party, which pretty much entails throwing a blanket over the person and beating him with a stick, which they do. Vic spends some time with the reporter, who he brings her into the observation room, and as soon as he turns on the TV, it's got Shane having sex with the stripper. He quickly changes the channel to the interrogation room with Dutch and Claudette. Aceveda pulls Vic away, and they both agree that they don't like the reporter digging around for dirt. Shane informs Tulip that the other dancers are saying she was the mastermind and he will not be able to keep her out of jail, only for her to blackmail him for her freedom by threatening to report him for sexual misconduct.
No way.
Pretty much saying that she has the evidence inside her currently. Vic and Aceveda sit down with the reporter, who asks if Aceveda allows the use of brutality to inflate their statistics, but Vic covers for him. She then asks Aceveda about his alleged rape of a 21-year-old girl, and he immediately asks Vic to leave, and he tells her that's a non-story from 15 years ago. Later, Aceveda tells his wife about a former girlfriend who was into rough sex, and after he broke up with her, she filed charges against him. And the wife tells him that he shouldn't back down, and he'll just have to fight through this.
Good wife.
Oh yeah, very supportive. Connie was able to trick Ronnie, take the cash from his wallet, and run. Later, she shows up at the police station, high as a kite. She tells Vic that the baby needs to be put up for adoption, and then she leaves. The strike team and the other officers are in the observation room watching Dutch have a hard time with Sean. Dutch asks him about the car with a broken taillight, which he had access to at his job. And then Claudette reveals that they were able to secure a search warrant for his house. They didn't really find anything, but they also got one for his aunt's house, where the police have already found 2 bodies in the crawl space. Sean tells them that they will find 17 more and that he's killed 23 people. The cops give Dutch a nice round of applause. He got his man. Vic tells him he did a good job. And then at the end of the day, Dutch goes out to his car and just bursts into tears. And that's the end of this episode.
Go ahead, Mark.
Oh, okay.
I always lead, so.
I mean, yeah, it's a pretty good episode, honestly. Like, I mean, once again, though, like I don't. How did Shane become a detective? I mean, I mean, he's out here saying, I don't know, man. I think this stripper really likes me. Like, he said that from the beginning. Like, what are we doing, man? Like, it makes no sense. I wanted to make this point last week. I just forgot. That I think at the very least I would say we have 2 characters here, like in the 3 shows we're watching, that are giving off like real like McManus energy, which I would throw Pete in that one, and then we got Dutch, like a just kind of unlikable, college guys or college boys, if you will, that just they feel like they are made to hate.
Mm.
What I will say, at least for both, that I think we cannot say about McManus, not one bit, is that both Pete and Dutch are at least good at what they do. To where I feel like at the very least, Pete, I would at least put Pete in.
Wait, can I pause real quick?
What?
Are you sitting here defending Pete from Mad Men, or is there a Pete from the Shield that I don't really know?
I was talking about Pete from Mad Men. I think he's good at his job.
Is Pete good at his job?
He's made a couple.
Do we have evidence of this?
We'll get to a couple more.
Okay.
He overstepped one time and almost got fired. And then I guess there is one in this series of show where he gets a compliment from the higher up. But
I mean, Dutch has caught a serial killer at least.
At the very least.
If you want the comparison, who are you, Pete and who?
Pete and Dutch McManus from Oz.
Yeah.
If you want to say competent and good at their job, yes, you're 100% right, because McManus is the most incompetent human that's ever existed in any profession whatsoever. I mean, he literally took all the criminals and really violent criminals and put them into a thing together and was worried and wondered why people were dying.
But Cody, he painted a maze on the basketball court.
Still not a conclusion of why that maze ever. He gave up on school after one season. Like, it was just done. Sorry, continue your Pete and.
I mean, I was kind of mostly just in the sense of where I feel like we shouldn't like it. At least right now with Dutch, I can't help but like the guy. There is just something about him that's like, okay, like I mean, I kind of want you to succeed. I really thought they would kind of milk this serial killer story probably till like the end of the season. I was a little bit surprised we got a resolution here, but still cool. I mean, like I feel like at the very least, like with Dutch, like he's going to have some annoying habits, but like he is a person I want to see succeed.
I think Dutch is cracking. I think Dutch is going to go crazy.
Possibility.
I mean, I may be wrong on that, but like my viewpoint is Dutch is like, it's 10 episodes in and he is showing real cracks already. So like I'm worried like something bigger happens. He's just going to like snap. And like I don't know what that snap looks like because he's not intimidating by any means. And like I don't know, like, but he's the guy that brings the gun to the workplace and just fires upon, you know?
Like what do we think his breaking down and crying at the end of the episode? Is that like he's just so relieved that he did it? He got the guy, it's done, or is it like what am I gonna do now? Or what
I think it was that. I think like now I have to go back to
I need something to prove that I have purpose.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. He seems like he is gonna be a little cuckoo for Cocoa. And I imagine working in that barn with Vic and everybody like can't make you normal, but he ain't normal.
I think he's still done the worst of it. He already had to partner up with Shane once.
But he got a girlfriend out of that, kind of. So
I will say though, like if we were, I know we do bad guy of the week every week. If we had to do like incompetent guy of the week, like Shane, is there any week that Shane's not winning that? Like for all incompetent guy of the week.
Oh. He'd be in the running for Christopher from The Sopranos. Holy shit! Talking about incompetent. We'll talk to him later. But I think my bad guy might come from Mad Men this week, so you can start talking about Mad Men. But my bad guy of the week might come from Mad Men, and it's not named Pete.
Okay, I think I might know where you're going. Yeah,
that's very interesting. All right, yeah. Well, let's get right into it. Going to episode 8 of Mad Men, titled "The Hobo Code."
Yeah, didn't know they had codes, but we needed to know them.
Yeah, we start out with Peggy and Pete. They come into the office early, and they end up meeting up at Pete's office, and they end up having sex in his office. They just go at, and at the end of it,
Most
Pete,
wild silhouettes of all time.
I kept waiting for that to be a dream sequence.
Me too, because it seems so out of place. Like, I know they fucked before. Like, what?
I kept waiting for Peggy to just like wake up.
Yeah, I was waiting for him to like wake up in a cold sweat, like next to his wife, and like, nope. And there was zero. Again, I don't care personally. All the men are scummy. They're all creepy. They're all weird. Elizabeth Moss choosing Pete just doesn't work in my brain. It feels like it's like Kevin James and Leah Remini from King of Queens. Like, that was just a lie told by the studio. Like, that's never going to happen. Like, knock it off. This is one of those things. I was like, Elizabeth Moss, like, stop it. Like,
that's my note. Is Peggy, be better?
yeah, Peggy. And the other guy's like, no, I want Pete. Why the fuck do you want Pete? By the way, Pete's such a fitting name. Can we be real? Like, I've never met a Pete that I liked. Let me tell you.
It was Peter.
Peter's fine. When you go by Pete, not a guy I like, and literally the most scumbag character. Pete.
I will say,
Sorry,
when I first
that
watched,
was literally 30 seconds of your episode, and we literally spent 3 minutes on it. Anything with Pete gets us, me and Matt, going.
I did want to say this real quick. Like, the first time I watched it, I was pretty certain that they had like a bit of a weird, forceful relationship. I thought Pete kind of forced his way in. I did not really notice until the last time. I was like, oh, Peggy really likes Pete for
the first time when she showed up, I wanted to be with you, and I'm going to bed, and I was just like, what? Is this like a power thing? I was thinking oh, she's just thinking because she's gonna get ahead and do it. Then she gets hit on by multiple people in the office, and she's like, "No, thank you." And then Pete shows up again.
While she's fantasizing at his postcard or whatever. I was like,
this motherfucker can't afford anything. He had to take a chip and dip back next episode. What do you want?
But I mean, Pete's got something going on because Trudy's all over him too. I don't get it.
I guess back in the 60s.
Also,
they must see what Mark sees. I don't know.
I don't want to jump ahead. He is scumbag material again. He I could go weeks for just voting for Pete as a piece of shit. But his wife shows up. I'm gonna just go ahead and spoil your shit because I have to. His wife shows up. He has to move. His job in this episode, he's hardly in the office, but he wants to move. So before he moves in with his wife, he takes her on the couch. And then she walks in, sits down, and he flips the cushion. Disgusting. Just nasty behavior. And then tells him that she can't, he doesn't. This is my work. I can't just get away anymore. You're just going to have to do this without me. And then takes the champagne. What a douche. Doesn't help move. Bangs another woman after he just got married. Flips the cushion, because that's gross. We all had to have that personal image in our brain. And then drinks the champagne while his wife's moving. Crazy behavior all in one episode. And you're telling me the redemption arc of Pete's coming later in seasons. But holy shit, I don't know if I'm going to make it.
Yeah.
It's going to be like Batman vs. Superman when the final battle happens. And we're like, Cody, they're all teaming up. I'm asleep. Because the movie's fucking boring up till that point. Pete's already sold. Oh.
Okay.
You can skip the wife comes to the thing.
Yeah, I can't even know that. Yeah, so anyway, but he also establishes in that Peggy thing he's doesn't like his wife for some reason. Nobody likes their wife in the 60s. I don't know what it is. one of the phone operator gals has a crush on Salvatore. Leads into a really awkward moment where she shows up at the art department, like just like really like cringeworthy, like Duval stuff. Like it just couldn't handle it. Bert gives Don a bonus check for $2,500. They seem to really like what he's doing, and they were reward him with some money. We then also see they get the lipstick people to come in, the copy that Peggy wrote, and Don has another legendary boardroom moment. Because you already know about
Zip.
Jesus quote.
Puts his dick right on the table.
He's able to sell the hell out of him with that. And
what did he say that line about God?
You already know about Jesus. He either lives in your heart or he doesn't.
Sorry, dude. Fire.
But no, they're celebrating the win in there, and they get Peggy to bring some ice, and they pour her a drink. They let her celebrate with them, because this is a win for her. Like they bought her Mark Your Man idea from him, so she's moving on up in the world. And they all decide, what, we did good. We won this account. All the bosses are leaving. Why don't we all leave the office early to go to this bar and celebrate? And Peggy's really trying Pete, to come over. Peggy's really trying to get Pete to come over. That operator gal is really trying to get Salvatore to come over. Everybody's just thirsty.
Oh my gosh, that new operator lady, the most thirsty woman I've ever met. This is a family-friendly show, but I'm telling you, if if he would have said now, she would have said okay. Like she was staring at him the entire way. Oh, is that Flo from Progressive Commercials? Is that her in this?
I believe so. Yeah.
I was just like, for my entire life, you've just been the insurance lady. Why are you on Mad Men? What is going on? Okay, side note, continue, sorry.
After Don leaves, he heads over to Midge's apartment, and he wants to take her to Paris after he shows the $2,500 check. But she has all her hippie friends over, and she really wants to stay and do some drugs.
Yeah.
And
Don Draper is a dumbass, okay? He gives $5,000 for the person to get out of his life, so he doesn't want to cross his lives. And then he's going to take his $2,500 check while he has January Jones at home. He's going to take this girl to Paris. Why?
I mean, he'll have some left.
He's not going to take his wife to Paris.
Yeah, why would he do that? Right? When her hands don't work. Jesus Christ! This show's so dumb at times. I'm just like.
It's like him and all of Midge's friends are getting high. He's reminiscing about a time a hobo stopped by his childhood farmhouse, and he was wanting to get a warm, maybe a warm place to sleep and maybe a meal. So they invite him into their home, and they're conversing with the hobo and such, and Don just remembering, I guess that fond memory. I suppose a fond memory. I'm not sure. I guess Salvatore, ends up meeting with a business associate at a bar. I honestly don't remember where this guy was from.
It was one of the clients, I think, from one of the meetings earlier in the episode.
Okay, I didn't remember. Yeah. And then we go over to the party at that bar. Peggy also tries to coax Pete to dance, and what do you know? Pete's kind of shitty about it for some reason. I don't know.
Because he's the worst.
Because he's married. He doesn't need the rumor mill of him dancing with the
what he says, I really don't like you like this.
Yeah.
Then we go back to that dinner with Salvatore, and that guy he comes on to Salvatore. He wants to take Salvatore home, And Salvatore's like, yeah, man, it's the '60s. Like, but like being gay is not cool at this time period.
He wants to bend him over and show him the 50 states. Wild times.
Then go back to Little Don's story. He's talking to the hobo, and he's telling him about the hobo code, and telling him about like his life and how he can't be tied down with a family and such. Stuff that remarkably, Don, I think, actually kind of listened to this hobo more than I think anybody else in his life. And then while Don is over at Midge's place, he notices that, hey, he thinks that hippie friend of hers, that they like each other. And he starts, bickering with all the hippie friends in there. And, they call Don a square and such, and they tell him toothpaste doesn't solve anything. Great line. He ends up leaving her there, and he hands her the $2,500 check for some reason. I don't know. I guess he's got enough money, I guess.
I guess that's like his goodbye.
Yeah, so he leaves. That's the end of him and Midge's relationship, and he goes back to watching the hobo leave. And there was a part at the dinner table where his stepmom was going to give the hobo a quarter, and his dad was like, "Yeah, we'll give it to him, after he does the day's work." And of course, Don's dad does not give the hobo the quarter as he leaves. And the hobo leaves a dishonest man symbol on the fence post after, he gets the quarter. And that is the end of the hobo code.
My favorite part of this episode, though, is as Don is leaving the apartment, all the hippies, because like earlier in the episode, like the cops come to get a neighbor or something. They're like, "Oh, you can't go out there, the cops." And he's like, "You can't." And Don just walks out in his suit and gives the police officers a nice little nod as he walks by, whereas all the hippies probably would have got carted off and arrested.
One of the coolest, Don Draper is one of the coolest characters in but he's such a scumbag too, but it just works. He's like, "Well, yeah, you can't, motherfucker, watch me," and just it just works.
It's funny, like he's in there suit and tie, and the cops don't think twice. Like, this is a really shitty apartment building. What? You seem successful. What are you doing here?
It's really weird too. I guess it's like a theme of the show is like all these people have to they marry for status or for symbol, whatever it is, but then they go for people outside their zone, just because there's no rhyme or reason why Don Draper and her are connected at that level, that level. But unless I'm missing a huge arc that
it's probably a short walk from the office building. I think that's probably what it is.
But yeah, it's it's just those two just don't seem to wear it, but it's completely out of his normal element, so it's intriguing to him.
Yeah.
And Pete's thrill is he's got his wife, but the girl at the office that he can it's just weird. It's a true story of all men that are just never satisfied.
Mm-hmm.
Never satisfied with what they have, and they're always going for the next best, they want power and control and whatever.
I will say, just kind of going through the Rolodex of all of Don's mistresses or women he's been with, proximity is a major playing part. So she has to be really close by. I'm just going that proximity plays a big role in all of them.
Well, yeah, I mean, but his families are very understanding because he can leave a birthday party to go get a cake and they all just know and never coming back. But
yeah, I thought this was a really good episode. I mean, other than Peggy, I just shake my head at her this whole episode and how she was behaving. The whole Pete stuff. I feel real bad for Salvatore, and kind of you can see the struggle that he's going through, kind of living in this time. I mean, I was afraid that he was going to go back to that guy's room and then Dick was going to kick in their door, but thankfully he was able to show restraint. And but yeah,
his breakdown of being in the '60s and being gay isn't okay. Why he's trying to do this I love the offer. I would gladly take the offer, but this is 1960. We can't do that. All right. Okay.
All right. So that yeah, we'll move right along to episode 9. No, didn't get that. Episode 9 titled "Shoot." Yeah, it's there at the end.
One of my favorite endings of a fucking show of all time. It's up there. It's pretty high.
Yeah, but we start out with
Henry Jones really can't just do any wrong. I'm going to be real honest with you. Yes, she cut off her hair and it was a little weird, but everything else is pretty flawless in most things she chooses to do. So,
I would have picked Cody to be on like January Jones's case the same way he was on Skylar's case. So I think it's very interesting that he's very pro Betty.
No, that's not even close. He has no choice in it. Like, Skylar is like, yeah, I can't be on Skylar, so Skylar gets a pass now. But like, I just feel bad for January Jones here. There's not a real moment right now that I'm just like, I can kind of see what Don does with you. I haven't been home for a while. By the way, I got you a dog. Yeah, you need to go check out. Your hands don't work. Yeah, but I got you another thing to take care of. You happy? Hey, go get that cake. Never comes back with cake. Well, okay, cool. Fuck me, right? $3,500 check. I'm gonna take this mistress to Paris. You're gonna fucking stay with the kids. Scumbag behavior.
all right, yeah, well, yeah. So Don and Betty, went to the opera Broadway, wherever it was. They went to see a play or some shit, and they ran into
shit. Fuck it.
They ran into a boss at another rival at a bigger ad agency, the biggest, McCann Erickson, Mr. Jim Hobart, and he's there. He's trying to swoon Don a little bit, trying to lay the groundwork and getting him to come over to McCann Erickson. And he also talks to Betty about maybe doing some modeling. He gives her his card, and she's kind of delighted to see that. The next day, Don does receive a package from Jim, and he makes his pitch for him to come over to McCann. And Don, at the very least, is entertaining it at this point. He's tickled by the request. We then go back to Betty talking to her therapist, and she's at this point like she's kind of telling him, like, listen, I'm not really finding a ton of meaning in my life. I'm a stay-at-home mom, and like that's basically it. And then she also kind of is getting a little fed up with this guy too, and like he's telling her like it's like getting me to say it's my mom's fault or whatever. Like she's starting to see through the guy's bullshit. Roger then kind of gets that hip Hobart is trying to get Don to jump ship. He tries to make his case for Don to stay. He comes in with some golf clubs, and apparently those were from Jim Hobart. So this Jim Hobart guy really is doing the full court press. He had to get Don over at McCann Erickson. Then we got it's a little tough, I guess, Peggy being the new girl, and like she's starting to put on a little bit of weight, and the guys at the office are not really being super sensitive about it. They start to note that Peggy's weight gain, which not very nice. It's a little superficial on their part. We're being honest. Then Pete, because back up here a little bit, is they got to try to they're kind of trying to figure out how to get Nixon kind of a bit more ad time, trying to kind of better his position. They're still working on that account. And then as Pete is kind of working with Harry about trying to improve C-Core laxatives position, they didn't come up with this idea of hey, what if we just bought up a bunch of C-Core laxative ad time and we coupled it with Kennedy's ad time. So every time Kennedy did a commercial, people also got to see a commercial for C-Core laxative, and they just think about laxatives every time Kennedy shows his face. Which, of course, then later, like, Burke goes into a meeting and like, hey, what's this shit about, C-Core laxative every time Candy's coming on? He's got to go on the radio now. Like, he can't show his pretty face, and he's got to do that dumb voice every time he comes on the radio. So, like, Harry and Pete actually get a bit of an attaboy. So you see, Pete, good at his job. Did a good thing there.
He almost left him hanging, though.
Yeah. Notice that. He was waiting if it was good news or bad news, because the other guy jumped on the grenade, and he's like, oh, it was me and Pete both. All right, cool.
Yeah, Betty, does want to do some modeling. She tells Don, hey, I think I'm going to go after this modeling gig they want to. She shows up at the McCann casting call, and they pick her out of the lineup pretty easily. So she gets some modeling gig to do Coca-Cola. She does a bit of that, gets some pictures taken. Jim sends those pictures over to Don, and he sees his wife, doing the Coke ad. He then, goes over to Roger's office, like, hey, if you give me $45,000 a year, I'll stay. He's like, okay, that sounds like a deal. Then Don goes and calls Jim Hobart, says, hey, didn't really like how you basically employed my wife to get me to come over to your ad agency. Not cool. He's like, oh, well, okay, noted. Guess I'll tell your wife, this modeling gig isn't going to work out. That sucks. So ends a phone call there. And then Betty finds out that she's not going to be able to do Coca-Cola anymore, so she's mighty upset about that. Then Peggy had a bit of a dress mishap. She's talking to Joan about it, and Joan, just thinking of Peggy, is starting to note that hey Peggy, you're getting kind of fat. Maybe you want to maybe eat less lunch. You don't want to put on weight. You're making us all look bad over here at the secretary pool. Joan, just very very caring individual. Then more stuff like that sparks. As Peggy's leaving. Kenny cracks a fat joke, and Pete, without any rhyme or reason, just like socks Kenny right in the face.
Also, one of the dumb, straight out of a SNL comedy bit is where they punch each other. Don and Roger both look at each other like, ready to go? Yeah, and they're just fighting in the background. Like,
they don't even look. That was the best part.
And then they're like, you need to apologize for Sugar, but they get over it in the fastest way I've ever seen.
He doesn't even know why he punched him.
And he doesn't even ask for explanation. He's like, all right, well, you should have just sucker punched me that way. I'm saying, if I'm sitting on a desk and somebody turns around and punches me like that motherfucker's going to the desk. I'm not going to be done fighting for a while, especially a guy like Pete.
Yeah. Well, we head back over to the Draper house. Betty tells Don, you know what? I just really want to be, I don't like you coming home to having to make your own dinner or whatever. So, I'm just going to put this modeling stuff behind me. And then Don's like, well, the kids, need a stay-at-home mom. So that's good. And
the next morning, context clues, you son of a bitch. She just wants you to say it's okay that she tries to pursue it still, and you're like, nah, pretty good.
At least he didn't say, oh no, I know you got fired. He let her have that. It's like, oh, I got more opportunities, but I think I'm just going to stay home and do all this.
Yeah, I guess that is true.
Yeah. So, Betty, I don't know, she looks like she's, taking the news well. The next morning, she's just cooking breakfast, getting the kids ready for her. I think it's just, staying home with the kids. And, then she just, forgot about this thing back then. It's like, their dog accidentally ate one of the neighbor's birds.
And he's like, hey, CGI bird attack.
in short consideration for bad guy. Dog's up there for bad guy. Possibly eating the bird. That's fucked up. With the worst blood ever on a bird's chest I've ever seen.
I thought you were gonna bring up the neighbor who then, upon hearing that, is like, "Hey, that dog goes in my yardie, and I'm gonna shoot the dog." Of course,
you got to defend what's yours.
Definitely on the list for bad guy. May have been who I was considering. Just to let you know.
Yeah, of course, that upsets the kids. And, I guess, like, Betty, just in retaliation, is like, you know what? This fucker's going to shoot my dog. I'm just going to pull out this BB gun and just start taking pop shots at these birds that he's releasing out there.
Now,
I was sure that it was a...
That's a BB gun. That's the difference between the two things.
Well, he never fired the gun, so
it didn't have a pop lever.
That had the bolt.
It looked about the same.
You're from Texas. I just expected better. I'm just going to be honest with you.
Well, I mean, for Mark, a 22 is a BB gun, so
yeah, I guess that's true. Well, that's what we shoot each other with. Going direct right in the legs.
I mean, it's practically a pellet. Like that's not
Now that's the most Texas shit you've ever said on the show.
Yeah, that was the ending of Shoot. Like, Peggy going hunt. No, Betty going hunting at the very
When Betty goes out with that fucking thing, what are you doing? Just raining. I'm like, yeah. What did he think was going to happen? I'm going to shoot your dog. Excuse me? You're going to run that by me one more time?
I mean, he's lucky that Dawn didn't go over there at 2 a.m. in the morning and talk to him after the little one comes in and tells him about it.
What do you think? I think Dawn doesn't enter any room, and I mean, he can convince that man to do basically anything with him. Like he just
come over and be like, "Do you have a wife?"
Yeah. Listen, what's gonna happen here, buddy? You're gonna let my dog do it later. If you have a wife, I'm gonna fuck your wife. All right, that's what's gonna end up happening here, buddy. My wife's used to it at this point. All right, she won't even be mad. But yeah, I thought it was a great episode.
Oh yeah.
I honestly think, like, again, I've said it, I'll say it, unless this thing falls off a cliff, I was really dreading this show. I was like, how interested, like, is it going to be? Plus, Mark pitched it, which Mark has a track record, But,
like, my picks are Band of Brothers. No, wait. Technically, it's Chernobyl. Technically, it's Chernobyl and The Wire. Like, I don't know how I'm missing it.
No, you're not. But, like, things that I disagree with, you're just like, that.
Oh, you muted.
Something happened. I don't know, your sound went away.
Yeah, just literally my AirPod died right away. But, no, I'm thoroughly impressed with this show at this point. Like, it's weird. Like, I'm not saying Shield's bad, but like, this is the one that I keep like wanting to click the next episode more than The Sopranos, obviously. But like, and I didn't think it was going to be like that at all. I think maybe it's the acting. I also like the time period. So it's got like a double-edged sword for me.
I think it's probably out of the three, it's probably the most that has just like, it's just an ongoing story. Because even The Sopranos, even though it does have more of an ongoing story than The Shield, it does have a lot of like, they wrap up stuff each week more so than they do in the Mad Men, where it's just like stuff carries on from week to week to week. So that I think that helps with that too. And
also, like, everybody's intertangled with each other. Like, all the stories are with each other. Like, there could be like a story in The Sopranos that doesn't cross over with anybody. It just happens.
Yeah.
Matt, did you like it?
Yeah, I thought it was good. Did you guys know that Betty used to be a model? Because she told pretty much everybody in this episode.
Just looking at January Jones, I could tell you she could be a model.
But I did like at the end of the episode, I felt like that was almost like the first genuine moment that Betty and Don kind of had together. That where Don was just kind of like being like a real person with her, and they were kind of talking to each other. So I thought that was really nice. But yeah.
Yeah,
And I
they
love
almost
that
seem like they
Don was
like
able to get himself a $15,000 raise, which was a lot of fucking money, so judging by what we've talked about so far.
Well,
So that's pretty
what
good.
was it? 5,000 was 50 grand.
Yeah, something like
So
that.
it was $25,000. Like,
Yeah. So
and he had no idea why. He's still like, I don't know why I got it. But like, I guess the best kind of money is. But what do you want to do with it? My mistress. Let's go to Paris.
I mean, maybe this is just me assuming too much. I assume, like, he's gonna bring some to his family, like probably, like maybe 500.
You know what they say about assuming? Makes an ass out of you and me. I'm telling you right now.
Now Mark is gonna have to look up plane tickets from New York to Paris in 19 whatever and see how much they were.
You think he ran that $5,000 by that he just gave away earlier in the season?
Oh no, yeah, no. But hey, he's good now, so he's going to bring an extra $15,000 each year. So
well, this is also 1950s. Clearly, she's definitely not looking at the bank account ever. She doesn't know where any money is. All right, take us to the last episode of Mad Men.
Yeah, like there's another Billy Wilder movie. Yeah. Episode titled "Long Weekend." Start out
Lost Weekend. Nice try though. Challenge. You just lost a point.
Thought it was a long weekend. I gotta remember that. Anyway, Betty's dad shows up with this new woman that he's been seeing. Betty and the all of them in the family are gonna go down over to the shore where they got their like vacation home for Labor Day weekend. Betty, doesn't like this woman. She's like, hey, my mom just died, and of course my dad's seen someone, and this bitch comes over. Like, what is this shit? Like, not a.
It's never good when your wife asks you to come into the other room with her. So
Don can't read the signals anyways. Like, what do you mean? So you didn't need the suitcase?
Yeah, Don's clueless.
But yeah, like so Don's got to go to work though. He's gonna meet up with them. That place later on. And then going into election news, Nixon starting to lose ground against Kennedy. It's starting to look more like a 50-50 split here. And the Kennedy
James Franco shows up.
The Kennedy ads are looking pretty good. They're looking pretty snazzy, like making Kennedy look good. And then of course the Nixon ads are him saying about like I guess how they're gonna spend money. He looks like everybody's dad basically. Roger is trying to come up, say, hey, we got to come up with some plan here, like that get Nixon back here in this race, because like we got to do something. But after the long week, we'll revisit this topic. Roger then tries to make plans with Joan over that weekend, saying, hey, everybody's going to be gone. We can do whatever we want. Joan really isn't really having it. I think she's like just kind of fed up with Roger, I think, at the moment. The Menkins come in to hear the new strategy for their store. Don is able to sell it and at least make a better than expected impression, at least on the father. He seems to not think he's the worst. Joan's roommate does come over to see her at work. She says, hey, I just lost my job because I just got I accidentally lied to one of my boss's clients, so that kind of sucks. Joan says, hey, why don't we just go out in the town, you can forget about all this, and we'll have a good time. Pete then tells Don that they just lost a client, good old Dr. Scholes. Something about them not liking creative or whatnot. I don't know. We're just kind of taking Pete's word at this point, so like could have been anything.
I mean, I'm sure Pete's good at his job, so I'm sure he did everything in his power to keep.
Yeah. He's good at his job. So, like, you know.
Well, he
How
had,
do you lose it, Mark? He's great.
well, he had like listen. He has one good idea like every 3-4 episodes. He had
I'm
the
gonna
one
tell you,
like
I don't know this accurately, but Mark is going to regret that statement for a while. Anything Pete does wrong, we're like, yeah, good job, Mark.
he's good at his job. He's good at his job. That's
I mean, we're setting up Mark to have the biggest "told you so" moment if we end up liking Pete by the end of the show.
He said this for a while, and I can't take any more episodes like this. That couch cushion switch was diabolical.
Probably she didn't see it, honestly, looking back. How does she not see it? Couch cushion?
Oh, because the women in the show, they're made to be the most clueless humans that have ever walked the earth.
Anyway, yeah, Don goes to tell Roger that they lost the account, and Roger doesn't really seem to care. He's like, oh, whatever, we lost an account. Like, who cares? Like, more will come up. But you know what is here? It's a long weekend, and nobody, and I got nobody, to party with. Like, yeah, I need you to stay around for the day, so that we can get up to some stuff. And they said, hey, like, there's a casting call for like double-sided aluminum. So I bet you, knowing how Freddie Rumson thinks, I think I got an idea what he's thinking they can do an ad for, double-sided aluminum. Peggy then gets frustrated with her affair. Her affair with Pete, and just that's starting to get a little bit rockier there. Of course, Roger and Don head over to that casting call, and of course, there's like 5 sets of twins there. There to kind of be casted in whatever commercial for that aluminum. Roger then, picks a set of twins and says, hey, you give these guys are the face of double-sided aluminum now. Why don't you come over to my office so we can celebrate?
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and then Joan and her roommate are getting ready to, hit up the town. And Joan's roommate, she tells Joan, like, hey, we had this good time in college, and I think I might be in love with you, after this. And Joan just kind of, brushes it off. It's like, well, let's go out again. Like maybe you'll
games. She just quoted the same from the episode earlier. Like, you can't happen.
Just at that moment, Vic kicks their door.
Yeah. That would be a funny edit. Just every time they're like something happening, hey.
Yeah, they end up going out and they bring a couple men back to their apartment, which I gotta be honest too, is like what's up with this guy selection? Was there like nobody else at this bar? Like just like a couple of like,
I think they were looking at wallet size, probably. I don't know.
I didn't understand. I thought, I thought Joan, bring some, stiffer competition back to this apartment. A little weird. Of course, roommate ends up drowning her sorrows with, the loser guy they bring home with. Then of course, like Don, Roger are hanging out with the twins. They're separated. Roger is, having a lot of I guess sexy fun, if you will, with his twin. Don is like, I don't know, I got a wife or whatever. It's weird that that's stopping him this time around. And they're just hanging out, and of course, the other twin just runs out of the office, say, "Oh, something's wrong with him, whatever." And then, of course, Roger's having a fucking heart attack. Tells those two twins, like, "Hey, why don't you call 911? and then get the fuck out of here. You can't be here. Just get out of here. They go, and they're taking Roger away on the stretcher. He's going, Maribel, which is the name of one of the twins, Maribel. But then, Don lifts him up as he's having the heart attack, just slaps him in the face like, your wife's name is Mona. It's Mona.
We're going to talk about him riding one of those girls like a pony.
I don't know. I figured one of you would bring it up. That was disgusting.
Yeah, I was uncomfortable.
Yeah, this is a solid Roger week. Good guy.
Roger's such a
And I think that's probably the only reason why Don didn't partake is because he was with somebody who knows him. I think when Don steps out, he likes to kind of do it in privacy. He doesn't want to be like Roger to kind of know. It's like, oh, hey, remember that one girl or stuff like that?
Yeah.
A bit of truth to that. Yeah. And of course they take Roger over to the hospital, and Roger's now starting to rethink the last 15, 20 years of his life. He sees his family come in. He breaks down in the bed, and the finality of life, whatever, is starting to hit him there at that hospital bed. Joan gets called into the office to send a telegram to all their clients about Roger's heart attack. She manages to soldier through it, even though a little bit distraught after hearing about Roger's heart attack.
Do you think she was upset that he didn't have a heart attack while having sex with her? That would be kind of a hit to my ego if I was her.
I mean,
do you think Joe really needs any confidence boost?
I mean, you saw the guy that she brought home. I don't know.
I mean, that is true.
I mean, I'm just never going to stop thinking about it. That makes no sense to me. It's like, what? Yeah, of course.
What doesn't make sense?
I mean, I just would have thought, Joan would have brought some better looking guys back.
I'm sure they were throwing money around left and right.
Well, yeah, I think it's a power dynamic for Joan. She went for this. She ain't going for the oldest guy in the thing. She went for the second one, the one that looks like somewhat attractive, but has the most.
She's trying to find the guy who's going to take her away from all this.
I guess, but we're just trying to they're just trying to hit and quit it. Like, what is this thing? We're trying to bring the best thing back. She's trying to show her roommate a good time, make her forget about her, and what did she give her roommate? Some average guy? Like, come on. It's not very considerate of Joan. Anyway, after Don leaves the hospital, he goes and see Rachel at her apartment. I honestly can't remember if he had been to her apartment before.
I don't think so.
A little bit weirded out. We're she's not that weirded out that he just showed up at her apartment. So they end up talking, and he's definitely trying to make his move, and she's resisting. And then at some point, she just stops resisting, and they end up having sex for the first time, and Don finally gets another mistress in his bed. One season in, two mistresses.
We should. Oh, instead of a
it's
kill
a Jewish
count for the
girl
show,
too, right?
mistress count.
Yes,
it's a Jewish girl, right?
Yeah.
Which has awful things to say about Jewish people. Then all of a sudden, by episode 10, wants the pork. Nice.
Yeah. Then after finishing the telegram, Bert tells Joan that she can do better than Roger, which I think we know that. And then Don does maybe some of the worst pillow talking I think I've ever seen. Tells Rachel about how his mom died at childbirth, and then later his dad died, and how he was basically raised by two people that didn't really want him, and that's how the episode ends. Yeah. So good. Don just really knows how to spice things up.
I did like at the ending though. It was a nice because previously in the episode, Roger was telling Joan they needed to go do something. She's like, "Oh, we should go see a movie. We should go see The Apartment." And they talked about the apartment was, and then the end of the episode is her and the old guy in the elevator, and he's like, "Oh, can you get that?" So she was pretty much the Shirley MacLaine there or whatever. So I thought that was a nice little callback. And I loved when they lost the Dr. Scholl's account. And like one of the first things Don says, like, Peggy, do you have Dr. Scholl's insoles in your shoes? Is like, yeah, we're all supposed to take them out.
Yeah, great episode. Great 3 episodes. They actually just, again fully hooked me in. So I need my AirPod to work.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting seeing the Kennedy Nixon stuff heat up. And it just shows you the difference of those 2 ads alone right there was crazy. But yeah, Roger is just a creep in this episode. And hopefully this heart attack is going to be a eye-opening experience for him. We'll see.
I mean, Roger just likes to party. Okay. Yeah. I don't know, like, you know. I mean, although he should just not be married. There's a lot of guys though that, you know, you just be better off not being married. Like, just, you know, just kind of live your life, and it fixed a lot of problems, I think.
Well, this was back when divorce was a super duper bad thing.
I mean, could have used a couple. If you're talking, we can't hear you.
Oh yeah. Nope.
Hello?
There you go.
There you go.
Okay, ready to go to Sopranos?
I reckon we can.
Yeah, let's do it.
Sopranos, Legend of Tennessee Multisanti? I'm going to go with that, Multisanti.
Yeah.
I have no idea. Whatever. All right, Christopher's having fucked up dreams. Okay? Having some dreams, serving deli, watching his girl eat sausage out of the case. That was fucking weird. But the guy, Brendan, that got shot is... Oh, no, not the guy that shot. Brendan, not the Brendan guy.
Brendan's the one that got shot, yeah.
But the one that's following him is the...
it's the guy he killed in the first
guy he killed at him
yeah,
because he buried out by the river or by the water. So he's getting followed. Then there's there's a wedding going on. They're all having conversations, and it's getting through to the entire mob kind of family that the FBI's on their asses. Like, they're here, they're going to start doing raids. So it's basically like a mad dash of like getting the women out of the situation to kind of figure out the next steps. And I love that one of my favorite moments in this part is when they're like, Junior's like, we'll be fine, don't do anything. And they're like, what do you think, Tony? What the hell do you think, Tony? Like, I just gave you. Like, he's like, what the fuck do you mean? I was dying.
All right, that's good. What'd you got, Tony?
Like, you tell me. And then he like just reiterates what he basically said. They're going through the house, and they're like packing up all the things. He goes up the thing, has so much cash and so much money, and they're like, where's all the cash? It's everywhere. Like, it's not, like, I don't know even what to say. All the guns they're pulling out. Meadow is overhearing what's happening and goes upstairs to tell AJ, hey, you might want to get rid of your computer. Like, you're gonna need to clear up your computer. He's like, I ain't got nothing. Well, the porn you've been doing. Shit. Like, so he has to end up doing that. But basically, they're getting everybody out of scotch. Carmela's having kind of like a moment because it's like, God, when is this fucking ever going to end? Newsflash: there's a couple seasons, so not for a while. Big Pussy's like setting fire to all the stuff in the grill on the outside.
The best part was though at the wedding though when they first start talking about it, it's like, I just gave him $1,000, and then you see him like going through and pulling his envelope out of the gifts.
Christopher, by the way, like, power rankings doesn't change a lot overall. I think Tony's rising on that. But Christopher's dropping in that. I can't stand Christopher. One of the most incompetent human beings. He's writing a script, and he's over there sulking and not knowing how to use a computer. And his girls or spell. Did you mean manage? Like, are you stupid? Where did it go? Like, the stupid. I have 19 words. Like, it's crazy. Like, She's like, I don't need you to read every sentence. Then the newscast is like, what's going to be coming down? Like, they're all like, everybody's just basically sitting and waiting for it to break down. Dr. Jennifer and her family are basically having a conversation about like Tony Soprano and like not using him as a giving him care and whatnot because of who he is. And they're like, what are we supposed to be scared of the situation? Like, we're supposed to not help the people that need help. Christopher gets a phone call, tells him to basically go and pick up some cannolis and some pastries from the thing. And we're meeting down here. Guy behind the pastry shop's not having it, like not listening to him, because we'll learn in all 3 episodes. Basically, Christopher's an impatient fucking cocksucker, basically, and can't sit and just stay calm for anything. But it is one of my favorite mob tropes that happens in anything. He sits there, he helps the other guy. He's like, "Hey, come back in 10 minutes, all right? Just come back in 10 minutes. We're going to close in 10 minutes." Shuts the door and then ends up shooting the guy in the foot. Like, shooting at him, shoots him in the foot. He's like, yeah, I'll be fine. I'm like, what the fuck's wrong with you? But yeah,
I mean, to be fair, if you're waiting in line and you leave the store, you lose your spot. He's justified in that. So.
100%. Christopher and there's another, I don't know, I think it's a guy that didn't know how to work the phone in the first like couple episodes, but him and him are in the bathroom like doing the setup and like talking about like basically like I guess underselling who Christopher is, like basically like I was there too, was like, yeah, but Tony is the like talking highly about the other people. Carmela goes to visit the mom and wants to take her to lunch, but she's like, no warning, no nothing. What do you mean? Is this about the indictment? Like all the fucking whiny asses. Why don't you just get in the fucking car and like let me take you to lunch? Oh, no respect. Fucking drive me crazy. Tony. Where does Tony visits? Oh, basically Carmela's to get him out so he can plant stuff in like her, like hide shit where she's at. So
they're not going to look at the retirement.
They're not going to look at like his mom's place. That would be stupid.
Walnuts goes and visits Christopher and goes, you have any clue why a guy in the pastry shop says a guy came in and shot him in the foot, took a toe off? Any deal? And then he starts like going through the whole like role. Like, I'm writing a script, and you know how many pages I've got? 19. Is that a lot? Average scripts are 120. Oh, not very close. It's like, listen, what I always say is it could get worse. This is the worst advice ever. Like Walnut is not like he's like, buddy, just relax. And he's having these dreams about this guy. Like he's thinking like maybe he did something wrong. So him and the fucking guy go and dig up the body, like to move the body somewhere so these dreams can stop. Incompetent. Fucking incompetent.
In broad daylight, too.
Oh, he has a beard now.
Fucking 10 o'clock in the morning under this bridge, taking up a body.
And he has a beard. It's supposed to like happen and like weird. Tony also tells his therapist, he's like, there may be a time when I don't show up. Like, is this the stuff I'm hearing about on the news? It's a vacation that I don't know when it's going to happen. Right. Fair enough. Him and his, I think it's him, Jennifer, and who's he? Is that her husband?
I think it's her ex-husband.
Ex-husband.
Because they're in couples. They're in couples like therapy. But he's like talking about Tony and everything. And then Tony and Christopher get in the car, and every time Christopher's like, "You go and take up a fucking bot, like you do this," and Christopher, shut up! Like every time he starts, shut up! And it's like, And then they sit and have a conversation. He's like, maybe you need to be on like some medicine for your like serotonin and stuff in your brain. He's like, you know that? It was on a program last night. I watched it on a program. Yeah, I'm not really sure, but he's like, it's one of the great moments of just him. He's just in there screaming at Christopher about the situation. He's like, that's good. You ever think about, you know, nah, yeah, who would do that, right? Who fucking kill yourself? Oh, look at me, I'm dead. Like, just like Tony's like contemplating it daily. FBI shows up at Tony's house, and he's like, hey, you got kids, we're gonna be respectful, we're not here traumatized, we'll go through stuff. They end up digging the couch, and Tony's like, what are you looking for? Maybe I can help you. He's like, incriminating evidence, don't got that here. And then they drop a bowl, and then Tony finds out the last name of one of the guys is Italian, and he's like, oh, you fucking scum. But like, basically it takes it as disrespect to like he's feasting on his own. And then they go into this whole history lesson of the mobsters and the gangsters and like what was it and why the stereotypes are where they are and who was an Italian invented the phone. Alexander Graham Bell was Italian. He stole it from him. Like it's so funny. And then Meadow was like telling the story about like all the 5 families, and he looks at it and goes, what do you want to ask me? What you got something to say? So they're going back and forth. Don't really find anything. June, a big thing happens at the end of this episode. Mom and Junior sit and goes, he's saying a therapist, a psychiatrist. My nephew's seen us. Yeah, but don't say anything. And then it ends with like the family counseling of Christine, ex-husband, son, like Tony Soprano. Christopher sees something in the paper. Is his name? His name,
yeah.
His name is mentioned.
So happy.
So it's so happy that he gets some recognition from what it is, which fucking idiot. But
the one thing you don't want to see in the paper is your name.
Correct. Basically an indictment. But that's the episode of episode 8. Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, this was a really good one. I loved all the stuff with them freaking out about the indictments and trying to hide everything and just the paranoia. Christopher, he was getting on my nerves this whole episode. He's definitely out of like Christopher and Pete and Shane. At least Pete and Shane must have been competent in their jobs at some point to get where they are. Christopher, though, I don't. It's just because he's in the family, so I don't know.
I mean, I just pointed out a lot of stuff about Shane not being detective. I don't like he has no detective instincts whatsoever. We have no proof that he.
I think his skills just got rusty from being on the strike team for so long.
Christopher looks like he is literally heading for a Fredo moment. I know it was you, Fredo. I know it was you. You're fucking dead. Like he looks like he's just so egotistical, but he's so stupid. Like it's a
great combination.
It is a dangerous combo. Like he is just heading for fucking pain.
He really is the best though. He's just every time you think he's gonna he is confronted with you can do something good here, you do something bad. Never chooses the good. He chooses the bad thing every single time. Total scumbag. Christopher is like just maybe. I think you argue Christopher is just the worst guy ever. And I think as the show goes along, like I don't really, I feel like that argument's only going to get strengthened.
I mean, we're 9 episodes in, and 8 episodes in, and he is real bad. I can just imagine. I mean, what 4 episodes in? He went against Tony's request and shot a guy. Didn't prevent the other guy from robbing the situation. Another guy got killed basically because of him. He got almost pistol whipped and beat down in a thing.
Well, it's because Chris thinks he should have the power to make some of these decisions.
He shot a pastry worker for no fucking reason because he didn't beat up.
And then gets angry whenever that guy who's dead is getting more recognition than he is at that moment.
He was a lieutenant, a soldier. Bullshit. I brought him in. Oh goodness.
Yeah,
we good?
Bringing in that poor strip club guy just to dig up that body.
Yeah, crazy. If you think mobsters care about family, you know what they care about more? Soccer. And not only any soccer, high school soccer. Like fucking this group is episode 9, Boca. Basically, it starts out where mom is visiting the grave of her husband, basically paying some respect. They go to a soccer game. They're all having a battle, cheering. Silvio Dante is like in the middle of the field. You blow that fucking whistle one more fucking time. You ain't gonna be able to find that whistle. And everybody's cheering for him, and they're all scoring. And one of the girls is like running slow and like not really into it, but they like motivate her to keep going. And they're all talking about like what's the future. The coach they all bring to what's the strip club name? Bada Bing.
Bada Bing, yeah.
The Bada Bing, and it's like, hey, take him in the bag for one of those VIP things. It's on the house. He's like, no, like I not that. I'm gonna be fine. Detective shows up basically to what does he tell him? Shit.
I think it was about like the indictments and stuff, right?
Yeah, like it's coming across his desk and he doesn't want to be mentioned in any of the stuff and blah blah. Like he's gotta basically distance himself a little bit. Then we see one of the I think this is a newer character that got introduced this, but I think he'll have an existing role. It's the one of the fathers of the girl on the soccer team. She gets called from his wife and was like, hey, I've been stripping and stuff and you sanding and shit, like you need to get home and help me. And he's like, oh, okay, he'll get there. Junior is in the office with his lawyer, and they're talking about like the future, like what it is. Like what's the offer on the table to like get out of this stuff? They want to give up Tony, like they want to give up a Soprano, right? Like Tony Soprano. Like I think like somebody's got to take the fall for this shit. Mm-hmm. He decides, fuck it, I'm gonna go to Boca. Like I'm getting the fuck out. So he's gonna end up going to Boca. The girls, the high school. Soccer team is sitting there like drinking out there and like one cigarettes, and they find the girl that was running a little slow like during the soccer game, and she's cutting herself. And then Tony, not knowing how to deal with anything, talks to Jennifer about it. Jennifer's like, well, was this like a real sign, or was this like a sign? It was cry for help. She's 13. What do you mean? What the fuck do you like? What kind of cut do you mean is not what cut is a small cut? Like she's bleeding. She's always at our house. She's always eating like in my house. She's got energy. Like, I don't know what you're referring to. They're talking about got leaked to the paper is the coach is leaving for another job. And he's like, oh, I didn't want that to run, but they're doubling my salary. And it's like, hey, you don't even know what offer we have on the table for you. Like, don't think it. And what does Meadows says something to him? Like, they all stop, and Meadows like says some like thing that's gonna get her to run laps. I don't know. Probably, I don't know if it's fuck you or something, but it's like in that vein. She ends up having to run. Then everybody buckle up, put your seatbelts on. It's going to get a little uncomfortable here. Boca, they're in Boca, him and his little girl, and talks about Junior's oral sex skills and how good he is at eating box. And he's like, keep that on the down low. Don't say shit. Because apparently, which if this is ever a thing, I'm really still confused. But if you eat box, you basically suck dick in their
I mean,
terms.
if you're gonna suck on that, what else are you gonna suck on,
Yeah,
Cody?
what else? How are those even connected? Right? They are a very sensitive subject. Don't talk about it to anybody. Okay, not a big deal. Like that's fine. We flash back. Tony goes out to dinner with that again. If anybody wants to find it, but the other soccer dad and talks about like him getting pulled away from the coach being pulled off the team, like being sold, and then he finds a guy wearing a hat in the restaurant. He goes up to him, he's like, "Take off your hat. This is the bleachers. They haven't put the bleachers in here yet. There isn't concessions, so like take it off." And he just stands there and stares at him. And the feds, he notices feds behind him, like they're under constant surveillance everywhere they go. So he's got to be on his best behavior. Meadow and the girl that cut herself are over at their house and they're chilling. She's gonna still play, and they're saying, "Oh, okay, like cool." Figuring it out. Going back to Boca, talking about my mouth is sealed, hopefully not too sealed. You know what I mean? For the more fucking oral sex. Weird. Walnuts is climbing one of my favorite characters, because he shows up outside the house with a fucking big screen TV and is like, "Hey, I'm here to drop this off for you." And he's like, "I don't want your TV. Like, take it back. This thing's fucking heavy. Can we put it down?" "Yeah, we're putting it down." "No, take it." "Do you know who we work for?" He's like, "Yeah, I know who you work for." "Then I suggest you keep the television." Like, I'm just like, "No, you might as well want to keep it." He's like, "No, I have friends in law enforcement, and they like this is called
extortion.
Extortion." He's like, "Huh, we're gonna leave it." Like, leaves the TV basically, and they all just leave. Junior's girl goes to the nail salon. Instantly talks about eating box, like, "Oh, not like you got. Hey, I know we used to talk about it, but we're not going to talk about it. All right, no more." Then we go to a family dinner.
Oh, great family dinner.
It was like making jokes like, "Oh, how was Boca? You had a good time?" "Yeah, I heard. Like, good." Camilla's like laughing at the table and doing like all that stuff. "Why are you laughing?" "Nothing." Blah blah. Meadow wants to be excused. Mother's like, she's playing in the soccer game or whatever soon, and it's like, "No one tells me anything." "Oh, did anybody else sit here and hear me just tell Ma about the soccer game?" It's like, "Anybody else?" Like, "I just fucking told you." She's like, "That's it. I'm not eating here. I'm leaving." Junior's like, "I'm not done." So they end up leaving.
Don't go. She ain't gonna do nothing.
Yeah. Carmella and Tony are in bed. "What were you saying about Junior?" "I can't say it." "Well, apparently he's really good at." "Oh, he eats. He goes to the forest. He munches down. This is why I can't tell you anything." And he goes, "Oh, you guys hypocrite yourselves. You all do it yourselves." And he's like, "You shut your mouth. What we do in this bedroom stays between us. I think I can keep my mouth shut for once a year." Like, just shots fired. The wife of that one guy comes downstairs and goes, "Did you hear? They're like threatening, like they're telling him to keep the job, and they're threatening the coach basically to stay and everything." So they have a whole conversation, and Christopher shows up at the coach's hands and goes, "I found your dog." "What do you mean?" "My dog's upstairs." "Yeah, I found your dog, golden retriever, upstairs." "They have our dog." Holy shit! So goes out there and goes, "I'm an animal lover. Wouldn't do anything. Here's your dog back." Basically sending the warning shots to him, like, "Hey, I'm telling you, you might as well just figure this shit out. Like, this is what happened." Next morning, by the way, such a great 90s tracksuit from Camilla in this one. This teal fucking sharp like thing. I was like, good lord, straight 90s. I think the coach is gonna stay until they hear her offer. Meadow runs out of the situation, leaves, and then Tony does one of the best dad moments ever. It's like, we're trying to help you, and you're being a little bitch. You're whining and complaining, we're trying to help you. And then she drops a fucking bomb that the coach is having sex with the girl on the thing. That's why she cut herself, blah, blah, blah. And of course, straight 90s like parents. This is an accusation. Are you sure? Maybe you're confused.
Miscommunication of some sort.
Bitch, I'm telling you. And then, Tony, can you give us a second? Like, can we just go, like, let me talk to her. Then the plan of like, that's my daughter's on the team, like the fucking Al Pacino character. Like Silvio is straight Al Pacino every time he shows up. He's like, my daughter. They're all talking the plan. Like, this man doesn't need to be breathing, doesn't need to be doing anything. Like, he needs to be taken out of commission. And there's mixed feelings between it. Junior and them all. We're now into golfing. The Sopranos are now golfers. Like, they're pretty like. This episode, the next episode, they end up golfing. But then Tony's just dropping fucking singing songs about eating box like Adam, and like Junior's like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, what do you say? I don't know, man. Where the tuna's at, just fucking dropping him on it. And then the dad of the soccer player, they're sitting there, is like, you can't let, like, if this is true or whatever, like, you can't do it. And he's like, if I had the guts, I would do it myself. You have the guts, that's why you won't do it. They're wanting nothing. He's wanting nothing bad to basically happen to him. Then Junior is in the locker room talking about Tony seeing a psychiatrist. I was like, and I don't know who the guy is, the guy that killed Brendan and stuff, but he's like,
yeah, he's like number 2.
I knew it. You didn't know it because I just told you it. Like, you had no fucking. Basically hits him with that stuff. Tony's like having it with Jennifer, basically saying like, hey, you know, like, you like he deserves to stay in court or whatever. I'm like, this man knows, so we can have a therapist and blame insanity and go through rehabilitation. This man doesn't need to see the day. They're all going back and forth whether what to do or what not. He's waiting by the phone, like he's pacing back and forth to figure it out. Meanwhile, Junior shows up to his girl and is like, I told you to keep your mouth shut and don't hit me. Shoves a key lime pie right in her fucking I'm just like, take your pins, take your thing, and be gone. I don't want you here. Basically upset, has to break it down. Tony ends up calling Silvio and says, don't do it. Like, leave it alone. Like, just leave. I also love he like turns the phone away. He's like, fuck. All right. Tony hurt you. Like, there's no problem. They end up doing the cops. They end up arresting him, and he ends up going to jail for that. I also did forget in the last episode is when he misses that appointment, and she like I think it's that episode. Is like, oh, I didn't know I was seeing a call girl. Is that what you think it is? Is that what I am to you? Well, I didn't do until right now. If I got hit by a car, but you didn't. Okay, hypothetically, say I got hit by a car, but you didn't. I know I didn't, but say I did. Like it was great. So that's Boca. Weird episode.
Yeah.
But a good episode. It was weird how I felt about it. Like the whole oral sex, like that makes you gay, like that's just crazy to me. But the rest was overall good. What'd you guys think?
I mean, that story, I think, leads up to maybe the greatest line I think ever in television. And Uncle June is just fed up of her, and then just like, you stupid fucking blabbermouth. Like, just the greatest collection of words I think ever spoke. Just really hits the point across. I watched it like 4 times. I couldn't get enough of that line. It's great. Yeah, the soccer coach stuff was good too. Like I was like trying to keep him. Then he had sex with his student. I guess we got to kill this guy now. Like I don't know. Like maybe could have done away with that guy's dog. I don't know. They already proved they can get it once.
Yeah, no, I think it's really good. I like that it was an opportunity, I guess, for Tony to show restraint, and I guess maybe his therapy is actually kind of helping him become maybe a better man. I don't know, because I'm sure the Tony from the beginning of the season probably would have killed that guy, definitely for sure. But now he's going to go and end up on Oz and deal with Vern and all them. So yeah, so it's okay. But yeah, and like I said, the Boca stuff with Tony or Uncle Junior is like I feel kind of bad for him because I know it's probably got to be hard for him to find someone that genuinely likes him at that age and stuff. So it sucks that he just was so insecure about it and how all the guys kind of like look at that situation. So that he ended up having to kick her out and all that stuff. But yeah, good stuff.
This next episode's weird. Best way I can describe it is pretty weird. So basically this episode opens with Paulie and Silvio basically they end up killing a guy, right?
Yeah.
And then they end up they got that money. They basically hit a huge score. And that Tony is trying to get more like popular circles, basically. So him and Dr. Casimino or Kuzi, I think is what they end up calling him at the end. It's like, that name, yeah. But basically they end up getting the score. So he's moving over to him. They're basically neighbors, so they're like working together. He ends up basically inviting him to golf at the end. But then we get a lot of Christopher in this episode, which I could fucking do without. Impatient cocksuckers at a burger stand with a group of like the most filled restaurant possible, and he is standing in the back that just entered. Does it kill you to get a burger? How do we get a burger in this place? Blah blah blah. They end up getting a burger, but he also meets like a rapper that he's just disrespectful with at first, but then they invite him to a house party to talk about rap and basically he has music ambitions now. So he was first like wanting to write a script. Now he's the fucking mastermind behind music. Him and Adriana express, and because Adriana has music and she wants to do stuff with it. She wants to break into the music industry, introduces Christopher to this I'll tell you, this music's fucking ass in this thing. Like, I don't know about you, this rock band that we have to listen for way too long.
You're not a fan of Visiting Day?
Yeah, fucking Visiting Day. Oh, fuck off.
I thought they were pretty good. You know, they got a good sound.
I'm gonna punch you through the computer. And her ex-boyfriend is the lead singer of this band, so that's more wrinkles for fucking Christopher's ego to battle with. He ends up fucking hitting him with a fucking guitar, which is the most like WWE thing I've ever seen in my life. Like turned around and just took it perfectly into the back, like old Jeff Jarrett. Yeah, so that's the whole thing. They also in this episode they basically treat Tony as like a novelty mobster. They ask like some of the stupidest questions to this man, like, so how much of The Godfather was real? I don't know. I wasn't around. What was the 50s? Well, no, it was the 70s. Well, it was made in the 50s. Like, they're having this whole conversation, about John Gotti. Like, you ever kill anybody? Like, they just do all these, like, wild things. So Tony just, like, fucking yanks his chain, like, basically throughout this thing. Like, yeah, I know John Gotti. Like, he had an ice cream truck, all this stuff. Like, I'm just saying. It's just all over the place. Basically, I don't give a shit about the music and just like at all. It did not do anything for me. The Tony being like like I don't know. It seemed like a narc situation the entire time because I kept asking him like the most obvious mobster questions. But Christopher's trying to set up a partner deal with the rappers and Tony Soprano. I don't know what the overall deal was centered around.
Well, I think they were trying to get like money back from the one guy, Tony's friend, that I guess was part of like a record deal with the other guy's family and stuff. So they had money owed and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
If you want my honest opinion on this, is my least favorite episode of the entire like run so far. And it's not a bad, but it features way too much Christopher. And the only part I snickered at is when he goes across to his neighbor at the end and hands him a package. Says, "I need you to hold on to this for me."
Yeah.
How long? Okay. Don't do anything with it. Okay. He just holds it. He puts it, him and his wife like look at him like, "Don't open it." And then you just hear Tony in the garage doing like screaming, and then it ends with the terrible music that kicks back in. I may have missed some shit in this one, but this was the one I was.
I wouldn't say you missed anything.
I was.
This is a filler episode. I feel.
I was struggling into that. I was just like.
I think the problem is that it was a lot of Christopher, but he was like semi-competent Christopher. Like you can't have this much Christopher unless he's just like being a complete fuck up.
No, I agree.
Like, ruining stuff.
He's the voice of reason in that room.
Yeah,
he knows they suck the entire time, and he's trying his best to sell it, even though he knows this is a terrible fucking
terrible. Like he's doing his best to be a spokesperson. He just couldn't do it. So
yeah, and then all the stuff with Tony, and then the therapist was like at a dinner party at like the neighbor's house right next to Tony, and she heard like somebody yelling or something, and at the end we reveal it's just Tony working out in his basement.
Yeah, so the scream happens twice, and it basically is for two different situations, and it's just like. How does Carmelo would not deal with that in the house? If he's screaming that loud that it hits neighbors around him, like come on.
I mean, she did have a pretty good moment this episode. Just kind of a fun. Oh yeah, Carmela is gonna get up into some shit too. Is where their wives tell them about like the stock that they heard of. They think's gonna go up, and like she just buys like a bunch of stock. And then she finds out that, it's starting to do well now. So, like, she's actually making some money on the side in the stock market. I will say, like, I don't want to be, like, this, like, the main guy. Part of me does kind of like this. I don't mind just the Christopher stuff. Just because there's something about him, even though he's the fucking worst. He's, like, the worst guy ever.
Pete, I just fucking... Christopher, like you just like all dipshits.
I don't know, like he's at least he's fun to watch, like especially since like he's just the worst guy ever. Especially like when he's trying to get something out of this band, and he's like, "All right, like you know what? You're probably better when you're high. Like so, go take this heroin and go shoot."
I don't care. You've been sober for 12 years. Go shoot this up.
Like you're gonna get better because I'm not paying for another day of studio time. Like bashing his guitar over his head. He's just the fucking worst. But he's so fun to watch. There's just something about him.
I think it's also that storyline was just so bad that anything with Christopher being like, it's kind of funny. It's like it brings it back a little bit. So.
Like where he's kind of good at it, but he's also still a piece of shit. So there's something about that.
Because he's trying to be the supportive boyfriend.
So time to go bad guy of the week.
Ooh.
I had 2 nominations. It was going to be the neighbor from Mad Men, but I'm ultimately going with Christopher. Christopher, yes, he's incompetent, but he also shoots a guy in the foot for no fucking reason. Forces
Digs
that
up a
guy
body.
to dig up a body in the middle of the thing for no fucking reason. Hits a guy with a guitar.
Gives a stolen
Impatient as
computer as a
fuck.
wedding gift.
Screaming at the thing and the restaurants. Ultimate bad guy mode. So, Christopher's my vote this week.
I feel this was like the hardest week because I don't think there's like a real standout bad guy this week. I'm gonna give it to.
Whoa! Sorry, I have to resend mine. I mean, we did say it has to be a person that's been in more episodes, but
no, you couldn't give it to like the neighbor, but you can give it to.
I think the coach sleeps with a child, fucking doesn't take the television, digs up way more information. Bad guy.
Yeah, but that's like a one and done episode. That's the same thing as like the pedophiles on the show.
Okay, so he's on the honorable mention.
Yeah, honorable mentions. Yes. Yeah.
Ultimate bad guy is that one, but just making sure.
Yeah,
I didn't want to get by and say we condone that.
Like I said, there was no like true standout bad guy this week, so I'm gonna just give it to Roger because Roger was being like really creepy and skeevy with those girls.
Like a horse.
He rode like a horse. Not only is he cheating on his wife, but he's also cheating on Joan with these girls. So
crazy.
Yeah. So bad guy. Deserves a heart attack.
All right, here comes Mark. Like a well-known, loved character. Really bad guy.
No, I mean we're gonna have our first two-time of the week bad guy. I'm also gonna go with Christopher. To me, like it's easily Christopher this week. Just he's annoyed that he's not getting recognition from the press like the whole time, that his name's not out there. He shoots he shoots the guy in the bakery for no reason, forces that guy to dig up a body of him, and then all the stuff like when he's in the recording studio. Just horrible person. For bad guy of the week.
Definitely incompetent fuck up of the week, that's for sure.
Yeah. Okay. That's the episode 3 of this week. We will be on to season finales.
Yep. Next week,
I think the
season finales of all three shows.
I think the first time in this show's history that we will be hitting season finale, like of the season together, all 3 episodes finishing together.
So it might be a long episode.
Could be a longer episode. We are dropping an episode. So we are 9 instead of 10, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we do have to cut one. But we will do a season ranking of this. And we made a decision. I don't know if we made the decision on air, but we will be doing series breakdown. We're not going to try to put the seasons along with Breaking Bad, Wire, and Oz because that's just going to be convoluted. And not to mention, if we get to season 30, trying to do that, go back and remember Oz and that stuff, that just seems like a failure.
We don't want to go back and try to remember all the Oz seasons.
We don't. It will be really hard to even pass the bottoms, but we'll do overall series where they rank. So
at the end of
Mad
each
Men,
season.
Shield, and Soprano will be compared to Breaking Bad, The Wire, and Oz as a series going forward. But yes, we'll be doing the season finale next week. So tune in then. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Your turn to play bad cop?
Nah. Good cop and bad cop left for the day. I'm a different kind of cop.
I don't wanna do your dirty work no more.